Moho will show you how. Oh, Moho will show. Bingy bongy, bingy
You ready to craft? It's crafting time.
bingy bongy.
Hello and welcome to the next instalment of our Hexigan Crochet Along. Right, so we've now got our two hexagons. We've done the chest width extension, we've done the back extension, and we've joined these two together, so we do have a semi-wearable garment. So now it's time to do our bottom extension rows until we reach our desired length. Right then, so let's have a look back at our handout and see what length we are aiming for. So we wrote down up here, you wrote down length, and then after it in pink I've written 55 centimetres. So that is the length that I want the pattern to be, and then the final 5 centimetres is going to be my rib at the bottom. I'm going to do a chunky rib, I just thought, didn't I? There, we've got a chunky rib. So whilst my desired length here is 60 centimetres, I'm going to carry on working the bottom extension rows until I'm at 55 centimetres, because I will have a 5 centimetre rib. So if you were doing any of these options for your rib, let's just find the page. So whether you are doing a chunky rib, a short row rib, either of those, you're going to need 5 centimetres. A double row, if you're just doing one double row around the edge of it, that's going to take barely anything. So just work to the measurement that you've written down or just underneath it. And row, obviously, no ending, so you need to work to that measurement. All right. So I know I'm aiming for 55 centimetres from my shoulder seam down to the bottom piece. All right. Right then, let's see how we do that. Right, now this, if you've ever done a granny stripe blanket or anything using granny stripes, this is very, very, very identical. So we are on to the instructions where it says the bottom extension rows. So we're down here, all right? So we're going to be working just along this bottom edge. So there's no corners. There's no corner spaces, there's no nothing, we're just working in straight rows. The only thing that we need to watch out for on this first pass along is how we get over this seam nice and seamlessly. So let's get going. Right, so first of all, we're going to want to know which way we're going, which side we're starting at. So you want to have the stitches facing you where you can see that there? Where you can see the stitches where you would normally have worked into. So we can see the kind of the back of the stitches. It's not where we can see the nice V's of the stitches. We want the holes facing us. And we're going to join in this corner space. Oh, lost me on. I'm going to go with a bit of copper here. So we're going to join in this corner space here. So remember how we joined? We just put it through, pick, and then do our chain. So it says join, and we want to chain 2. So that's there. And then it says we want 2 more trebles into the same space. So we want 2 trebles into this corner space. That's going to give us this nice straight edge. So that's 1 and 2. Now there's only 2 rows in this pattern repeat. And the only difference is how they begin and end. If a row begins with a granny cluster like this, 3 trebles or equivalent, it will end with the same. If it doesn't begin with a 3, it must begin with a 1, a chain or a final treble. So there's only 2 rows. One of them will start and end with 3 trebles into the same hole. The other one will start and end with 1 treble or the equivalent chain into the same hole. So we've joined on and we've done that bit. So I'm going to work along here and we're just carrying on exactly in the same pattern that you've been doing, your 3 trebles and then into the next space 3 trebles. And what we'll do is I will skip forward a little bit and I'll show you how we get across the seam where we joined our 2 back pieces together. All right, so I will see you when I'm there. So along this top edge, what you'll see is you've got your nice sort of neat edge in there of your granny square until you come to the point where you did your extension rows. And it goes a little bit wibbly, and we call this a row edge along here because it's not got a nice clear stitch into it. All we're going to do is we're going to maintain our pattern of what we've been doing. So I'm going to do 3 trebles in there and then miss the next cluster and do 3 trebles in that hole. And then, so you would do that, you'd go into each hole along that edge until you get to the seam. So that depends on how many rows you've got. If you were doing DK, we said you might need more. So I'm going to go into there. I'm going to go into the hole between the two sides of the back extension row. So into there, and then I'm going to go into that space. And that will give me a nice even distribution of my stitches along this top that will keep it in pattern. Be careful, some people have done or have been trying to do 3 in there and a 3 in there, and what that does is it gives you a little increase and it gives you a little like sticky out bit over your bum. So let's have a look at that in action. So I'm going in here, so this is in my final corner space where I joined on for my back extension rows. So that's 1, 2 and 3. I then look for my space in between my rows there, so go into that one and 3 trebles. Lovely. 1, 2 and 3. And then finding the space between my two sides where I join them together, so my J-go seam, 3 trebles in there. 1, 2 and 3. Find the next space, so that's there, 3 trebles in that one, and then we're back onto our nice neat edge where we don't have a row edge, where we've got a nice clear pattern to be following along there. So I go into my corner space there, and then I'm going to whiz back along right to the far edge. All right, so I will see you when I'm approaching the end of the row. Right, so I'm up here now. I've come to the end of the row and I've got my last space. So I go, oh, am I finishing with a 1 or am I finishing with a 3? Well, if we're not sure, have a look at the beginning of the row. I started with 3, so I'm going to need to finish with 3. So I do my 3 trebles in this final space here. 1 and 2 and 3. Now we need to make sure that these bottom extension rows, that we keep this edge straight. We don't want it to start fluting out or to start shrinking in. So we've got to, this is the only thing that you need to sort of keep your eye on. So if we go, right, I had 3 here, so I'm going to be starting with 1. So that is, we do 3 chains to count as 1. 1, 2, 3. Why we don't do 2 is because it is going to stretch a little bit further. So we just stick an extra 1 in. Right, so I do my chain, turn it over. So that's going to sit on top of that there, and that's going to give me my straight edge down there. So I then go straight into this first space with my 3 trebles. And this row is super simple because I'm just going to go all the way along in every space, just doing my 3 trebles until I get to the end where I just do 1 in the top of the final stitch, so it matches this. So we're keeping this nice straight edge. Right, so I will fly along here doing my 3 trebles, and I will see you at the other corner. Okay, I've reached the final space here, so I'm going to do my 3 trebles in that space just as normal. 1, oh, and 2 and 3, and then I'm going to do my final 1 because I started with 1, so I need to finish with 1. So I'm going to do my final 1 treble into the top of my turning chain here. So I had 2 chains, didn't I? So I've got my joining chain, and then I've got 1 and 2, and so I want to do it into the top of there. So it's a treble, so we wrap around, insert, pull it back through, and then finish it off like that. So we're just going to keep repeating these rows, these 2 rows, one that starts and ends with 3, one that starts and ends with 1, and you carry on until you've reached your required length as written on your sheet. Now work to the conservative side of that, because crochet, as you wear it, it does drop and it gives. So if you've got like your final row will either push you just over it, or without it you'd be under it, go under. Okay, right, I will see you when I've done those, and we'll see what this looks like. See you in a minute. Right then, here we are. So I've done, so far I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 granny rows down there. So I'm going to give it a quick measure and see where I'm at. Now it's important before you measure, and when you're measuring feelings, give it a good shake. So hold it up and shake it by the shoulder seams, because you will gain you'll gain length. It will drop a bit because it's the way that sort of what crochet does. So make sure that you give it a good stretch and a good shaky. So I've got my shoulder seam is up here and my bottom edge is down here, and this is my opening, just so you know where we're measuring. And I'm going to measure up here, and I'm going down there, and I am, oh, look at that, bang on my 55. Beautiful. So I am going to stop there and that's this stage done. So I've now got my desired length, I've got my desired width, I've got my opening, and the next bit will be, we're going to show you how to add on a hood if you are adding a hood. If you're not adding a hood, you will need the next bit, which is about our sleeves. So we will work on that one very, very soon. Right, so I've reached my desired length down here. So I am going to fasten this off. We are going to work on some other areas of the cardi. So if you wanted to leave this yarn fastened, if you are going to be doing your edging in it, you can leave it on there. Just make sure it's under control. I'm going to get rid of it because I'm going to be changing colour every row, every bit. So I've got my last stitch there. I finished on a 1, and I'll just fasten that off with a little slip stitch there. And then that is done. On to the next colour. All right, as ever, give us a shout if you've got any questions, or if you're stuck or anything. Share your progress in the group. Send us some photos on Facebook. You could even try it on at this stage and send us a pic of it so far. Ooh, exciting. Right, thank you very much. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.
It's crafting time again. What's that? You don't know how to craft? Well, it's simple. You just let me